And this project is has a little bit of legacy insofar as myself and Nina have worked on a collaborative project in the past, and we wanted to continue working together. But this also forms part of my research, which is around playful learning and working with a non-hierarchical classroom. And I've involved some of my third and final year students who a number of them will be taking this project further from today through to their graduation in the summer. So this forms part of their major project. It also forms part of my pedagogic research and my research practice as well, so my artistic practice as well. So we're all contributing. There's no particular hierarchy or any kind of stakeholders that are in charge of anything. So what you're going to be seeing today is one aspect of the project, and of which there are many. Thank you.
So I take the word back, and I'm glad everybody's here to participate, and even the audience, you get a chance to participate. But now I'll give the word to Dries, who explains what we're going to do this afternoon.
Thank you, Nina. Well, like she said, I am Dries, the game master for this role-playing session. This is a prototype for, like has been said, the research with the third year lab and for people from Cambridge to test and design ways to make futuristic scenarios more immersible through role play and see if any insights or ideas can be gathered in that way to use in the design process. At the end of this prototype, we have a little survey for our research, debriefing this session that I would like to send to you, but more on that later. For the research purposes, this session will be recorded, and I believe the recording has already been started. But before we start, I would like to introduce you to the city that will be portrayed. It is the year 2070 in the city of New Canterbury, formerly known as the Scottish fishing town Golspie. Over the decades, the city grew to a metropole for technology and innovation, attracting lots of intelligent-minded people and people looking for work from Asia and all across the world. Since then, the city has been a cultural hub known for its technological advancement. New Canterbury both looks and functions different compared to what cities nowadays look like. Instead of being ruled by a city council, it's the communal that has the strongest word in the city. Via a grand hearing, much like what you're about to experience today, the city is being led and topics and problems are brought to the public eye and open for discussion. Experts, engineers, workers, businessmen, and most important, the people from around the city are invited and almost always attend these hearings. You, the participants, are the people from the city, the experts, the engineers, and it's up to you if you are just in the audience or an expert with an opinion about a specific case. So please don't hesitate to open your microphone and defend an opinion. Today, the topics are based upon research and trends that could be in the future and brought to you in a role-playing manner. From here on, I will be the timekeeper and the organizer to guide the non-role play aspects and to keep track on time. Nina and Dylan are both the chairman and presenting both a case, so they switch their places. And before we start, we were gonna take a look at a 3D representation of New Canterbury in a virtual fashion. So, I believe that's Daniel.
These are the living quarters. They belong to the newest part of New Canterbury. Entertainment and shopping areas will later be added next to the living quarters.
This is a boat. That's it. Pretty self-explanatory.
The lighthouse is part of the old Golspie.
The turbines are also part of Old Golspie. They were kept as a node to the olden times.
Dunrobin Castle, a lovely tourist attraction dating back to the 19th century.
The Tree Hub community is a micro-community where foresters take care of the guardian pines. This is where Leslie has lived for most of her life.
These are the farm scrapers. Workers come here every day to produce food for New Canterbury.
Finally, the roundabout. This is the center of the city, and it slowly moves to ensure people keep their creativity high.
Hello, people of New Canterbury. We're here today for the first case. I'm here at the mapping center in the middle of New Canterbury. And as you all know, that's the place where we have the central map of New Canterbury as we see it here. I can spotlight that for you. This is the place where we do our calculations. As you probably know, because you're all living here, we are in a quite experimental social system. And we have these hearings when people are having complaints about certain aspects about the city. And today we have two cases for you, and I'm the chairwoman from the first case. I'm the elder from the community who's living around a roundabout. As you all know, the roundabout is our city center, and it's a complex of a certain amount of buildings that slowly move around in the city. And you have this very experimental architect who designed this together with somebody from psychology, because they figured out that it is very good for your brain and for your creativity to live in a moving building, because it changes perspective regularly, and that makes your mind less set into a certain opinion. And as you all know, there's a lot of people living in the roundabout, a lot of people working in the roundabout. And today we have a case of a citizen who is having problems with daylight because, well, one of the buildings seems to be moving in his path, and he is getting annoyed by it. As you can see in our bowl, this is as people get annoyed. This is our bowl who helps us in the meetings. We use it mostly as a talking stick, and mostly we have these meetings in person and we have all the people together. But as you know, a lot of viruses started in 2020 and even in 2070. They're still coming back. So due to that, we're all again fortunately in lockdown. So I'm here in the mapping center with my mapping technician, and everybody else is in their own private space. And I would like to give the word at first to Dylan, who is representing the person who brought this case forward and wanted to have this hearing.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for the welcome. I want to start off by a visual representation which my client has been going through. So let me share that with you. My client has made a representation of what the lighting looks like when the roundabout moves. As you can see, because of the moving buildings surrounding the roundabout, he has certain times or within a month or even a week where he doesn't really have access to sunlight within his building. And I'm a psychologist, philosopher. I have helped design these buildings, and I want to talk or give a presentation about the positives and the negatives surrounding this building, and hopefully give you some perspective or insight in helping fix this problem or come up with a solution in the future. As we all know, or I assume most of us know, there's a few core concepts to human happiness that need to be met in order for someone to truly start fulfilling their potential. Back in the olden days, and I'm talking hundreds, thousands of years ago, humans had the focus of going after food. Because if you don't feed yourself, that's all you're occupied with. As the years progressed, we started focusing more on other aspects, community, love, eventually self-fulfillment. But there's core concepts that a human body needs in order to fulfill these things. One of those is sunlight. Not only does sunlight create vitamin D, which is essential for us, we could take supplements, but research has shown that it isn't as efficient as just being in the sunlight. Other than that, sunlight improves your sleep, which is one of the core pillars that you need in order to reach self-fulfillment. Exercise, sleep, peace of mind are all among those. If you don't have some of these core pillars set for yourself, you can't reach your full potential. However, because currently in 2070, most of these pillars are already met, we designed the roundabout to give a concept of changing position. As some of you who do not live there might know, I do this myself. Sometimes you have a specific location or place of work. You can think of it as you have a computer, which you might be watching videos on or playing, and you have your laptop at a specific other location, which you work on. You associate these places with that specific action, and this moving roundabout city has enhanced people's creativity by constantly changing the world around them, as you would have two desks, one for play and one for work. Now there's, because of the changing perspective of the building itself, it has caused, and science has proved this, a higher level of creativity in the people who live there. However, one of the problems that comes with this is the decrease of sunlight within some of these buildings. Now, I do not have a solution. This is the presentation of what is going on, why we did what we did, and I'd like to give the word back to the chairwoman.
Daniel, can you explain us why the person who complained, Luke, one of the Lukes, couldn't be here himself today? Has it something to do with this case or not?
His lack of sunlight has left him, let's say, motivationless. As we know, there's multiple types of unhappiness. We can talk about clinical depression, which is usually has something to do with the chemicals in the brain. And this comes in waves. Usually, when we talk about depression, sometimes people just feel unhappy constantly, but that isn't the clinical definition of depression. The clinical definition of depression is when someone has it in waves, which come and go in between the months and weeks. Now, this clinical depression has in my client taken hold within the aspect of sunlight. So when he gets less sunlight, he basically gets depressed,
thank you,
and that's why he couldn't be
Thank
here.
you, Dylan. I would like to ask.
You're muted, Nina.
So sorry. I'm I want to ask my technician to show on the mapping how the city's happiness is affected on the whole and how the sunlight is affecting it. Jeremy, you have to put on the other camera. Because you're presenting just the case of one citizen, and we'd like to know about how it's more affecting most of the people here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm spotlighting the wrong one. Yes, so what we're seeing here is that it's the roundabout might make some people restless, but we also have the other effect that for some people it's just really broaden their horizon and getting it much better. So I was just wondering if anybody could explain a little bit more about this, what we're seeing here. But first, I want to give the word to one of the citizens living in the roundabout, which is Daniela, who's was one elderly person, and I think you were quite happy about living there, Daniela. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Good afternoon. Yes, I live in the roundabout, and as an elderly person who is no longer mobile, I feel like living in the roundabout and the fact that it moves, it's very nice for me because it allows me to change my outside view and in some ways feel like I can still go on walks even though I can't. It's also very good for my mental health, the fact that I can see the people change and I can do some people watching, which is one of my favorite hobbies to do. I am a retired fashion designer, so seeing this like sightseeing and seeing all of these youth outside really helps keep my creativity fresh and in trend. It also allows me to, as I said, do people watching, and you can learn a lot about a person, just merely by the way they walk. For instance, the other day, I saw this most peculiar teenager walk in the direction of the farm scrapers. She looked excited about something. I wonder if she got some good news that morning. Anyways, I'm going in the rant. Yes, I think I want to talk about that thing about there not being sunlight. For me, because I am a night owl, it doesn't really affect me. When I have daylight, I mostly look at people and get inspiration. And then when I don't have sunlight, I use that as my time to work. So, yes, that's my case.
Thank you, and maybe I'll come back to you later. I first want to ask, we have Luke, who is one of the technicians who is working with artificial light and windows, and maybe he can elaborate a little bit more on his work and how we could basically try to avoid the problems the other Luke has with getting depressed, because you, I think, found a way to make windows that won't affect the working of vitamin D. Is that okay, Luke?
That is not correct.
Okay, then tell me.
No, I'm I guess an artificial sunlight scientist, not a window technician or something. So, on behalf of the citizens, we were just looking for like an alternative, like what kind of other sunlights can you have? Because the fact is that you don't get the UVB sunlight through a window, so you still don't get the vitamin D. So we're still looking for like alternatives. So now we have like we made artificial sunlight that does provide UVB, which could go with a schematic for the citizen to just have the sunlight in his home, and so you do get the vitamin D, because through the window is just not enough for the vitamin D. You just have to go out. So as an alternative, we have this, because the fact is also that we just cannot change these buildings how they are now.
So it seems I see our bowl is lighting up green, so everybody seems to be very happy with your story. I would wonder, now we're back to neutral, because maybe somebody is not really happy about what's said here. Maybe it's somebody from the audience. Is there anybody from the audience, because the audience are all also citizens of 2070? Anyone of the audience who has a say in this, who wants to comment on what is said so far? Yes, Tina, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I also live on the roundabout, and I'm just wondering if perhaps we could alter the frequency that the roundabout gets moved, and take our neighbours into consideration a little bit more. And I think that might just mean like rejigging the algorithm a little bit, and then perhaps we could use some of the technology that our very clever research scientists have been developing around vitamin D to install in those neighbours' houses on which it impacts. But really, I think we need to look at the algorithms a bit more closely to see that we don't, make this to someone else's detriment, really.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm looking at my technician here. Could you see on the mapping what could be the effect of Tina's idea? And maybe we should switch the camera back to the mapping again. Looks like that's going to be a lot better. Can you show something about the color of the moods the people would have if we would do that? They seem a little bit agitated. Have you any idea how that would be? Oh, that's better. That's better. Okay, so I guess we could give that a try, but I first want to go back to Dylan and see if he has any idea how his client would feel about this.
I'm wondering if Lucas just presented a perhaps good solution to not getting the sunlight and the vitamin D deficiency. However, I would like to, if we were to implement this, first conduct a scientific study using these lights and seeing if this would in any way improve the health of some of my clients. Furthermore, I want to ask Luke what the cost is of producing something like this.
Luke, do we have an answer to that?
You mean the entire cost of like the research and the testing and
Yes.
domesticating the product and
do we have any idea how many people are affected by this?
Well, it depends. Like if we change the algorithm of the buildings, then the cost would also change.
Mm-hmm.
So that we kind of have to look at our budget. But the way things are going now, I would say that I don't know, 3,000 people are affected by not getting or by the shadows cast by the building on their housing.
Mm-hmm.
So doing the research and the making conclusion of the result and iterating on the prototype, we should be around 2 to 5 million.
No, I think we could easily pay that from our income from the Brain Institute, because the developments we have there, they bring in a lot of money because we can sell those research results worldwide. So I think that would be a good idea to give it a try and see if the effects are getting better. And would like to start with the first try for your client, Dylan, so he can be one of the first testing persons, because my advice would not to start with all 3,000 at the same time, because if it's not effective, it would be too high cost for the community. Can we all agree on that? And maybe we can see the lamp again, then we can see if we all agree. If it seems to turn green, so I guess everybody is fine. If anybody has anything to say about this hearing at the moment, this is the moment to speak up. Otherwise, we will meet again after we. I see Luc Hombergen. You want to say something? Go ahead, Luc.
Yes, I mean, living outside of the towers or the roundabout, living there, having a view and having the roundabout obscure that view for quite some time a day also has quite the effect on our well-being. And I'm not sure if this solution will fix that potentially. So I'm still quite concerned.
So how much of your time you could live with blocking the blocking of your fuel?
Well, because I work during the day and I'm home at the end of the day, partially most of my free time is obscured, and that's yeah, to me it's quite detrimental.
So, but are you living in one of the communities who have movable houses, or are you living in a set apartment?
In a set apartment.
Yeah, so maybe because a lot of people living around the roundabout move around a lot. And you know, we have those communities who have cities all over have houses all over the city, and you don't have to live in the same space all the time. Would that be a solution for you?
Potentially. I'm still quite set on where I live.
I can understand, of course, because you chose to do so. Dylan, you want to say something? Maybe you can help Luc.
Yes, we have definitely noticed the problem of also from research that human beings, they prefer natural fractals over human-made structures. And we've already tried to design the buildings in a way that should not obscure your view too much. But maybe we can discuss with the designers to add more nature within and surrounding these buildings. Would that help your view in any way?
That's very good, because we have the design of the buildings with us also. Daniel, do you want to have a comment on that?
I think there's definitely some space left to build some community gardens and improve your health, hopefully, with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Would that work for you, Luc, if it would be more a green building?
I would have to see. I don't know.
Okay. But we, like the other things, we might try, of course we can't change the whole building, but we can go into a private discussion with you about the hours that are blocking your view and which parts of the buildings are blocking your view, and we could set up a trial there. How does that feel for you?
That would be really great.
Okay, I see we're back to green now, and I see we're also quite running out of time. Of course, if it's necessary, we can talk longer, but if everybody's happy now, I think we made two decisions. That is the clinical try with light and the try with the green, with adjusting the building. And I think it's a good thing to leave it here and maybe meet again within 2 months or something, so when we can talk about the effects of these measurements. Anyone else wants to add something to it? Or if not, this meeting is closed and we go to the next meeting, I guess. Maybe we go back to Dries for a moment to switch to the next meeting.
Dylan. The next case will be led by you, right?
Yes.
Right. Then we go to Chairman Dylan. He will be leading this second case.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be presenting case number 3 of the day. It's a relatively smaller case than the previous 2 that we have discussed. The issue at hand has been brought to us by several concerned citizens in the outskirts of our city, living in smaller communities, about the water level constantly dropping. We have, I see on the bracket here, 5 speakers at least. However, anyone from the audience who's interested in this can definitely participate. We're going to start, I'm just going to lay out the structure. We're going to start with the architect of the farm scraper, which is potentially the issue surrounding the water use. Then we're going to go to a forest translator to see what some of the surrounding nature tells us. Then we're going to go back to a farmer who works at the farm scrapers. And finally, we're going to go visit 2 citizens who live in these micro communities. So first of all, I'd like to give the word to Daniel, who is a designer of these farm scrapers.
Yeah, hi. As mentioned before, I'm Daniel. I'm from the OGA, or also known as the Old Goolsby Architects, and we are lucky to design the buildings of New Canterbury for over 40 years now. The farm scrapers are our product, and I'll have a schematic of them by hand. So here you go. These are the farm scrapers we are using at the moment. As many of you might know, we are using the latest technology regarding photosynthesis because it's very practical to use for the plants and all the farming that we are needing in these buildings. The formula of photosynthesis, we need carbon dioxide, loads of water, sunlight, and therefore it produces sugar that the plants need for to grow. So our buildings has been inspired to and designed to have a maximum output. So we have some air pockets so the fresh air could blow into the buildings, and make sure that the photosynthesis will work at its finest. On the back we have some pipelines that are sucking the water out of the rivers because we need loads of water, because all those crops are providing for an estimate of 1.5 million inhabitants of the city. So, and we have 5 farm scrapers that are in the work, and so we need a lot of water. On front here are some heat generators that will make sure the plants get enough heat, because otherwise they'll freeze because of the because it's located near the sea. So yeah, otherwise the plants will die and the whole city will starve because we don't have food. So it's pretty important. And it also and we also have some glass because of the plants needing sunlight, and here people tend so yeah in any case there's loads of glass here so the plants have loads of sunlight, and hereby the plants could grow optimally. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you for your contribution. I've read about these farm scrapers before. They seem to be a fairly efficient solution to some of our food problems, but the concern comes from some of the more outside communities about the water use. And I'd like to give the word to Leslie, who has been communicating in ways with the nature in some of these communities. Please.
Hello, I'm Leslie. I'm a tree translator. I'm here in the Scottish Highlands, high up, quite close to New Canterbury. As you know, here this is where the new communities live, and we're really pretty concerned at the moment. I talk to a lot of trees here. I have this very technical cloak who helps me, and it's filled with equipment, but at the moment it looks a little bit like an invisibility cloak. But that's not a problem. But I'm here with a tree called Justin, and I really would like to hear Justin's take on what's going on at the moment. So, Justin, can you talk to us, please?
Need to unmute your mic.
Yes, please, Justin. Let's have some sound with it.
Hello. Oh, wait. Can you guys hear the recording of the tree I have here?
No,
I'm sharing the screen.
Maybe you have to put on your the little thing that says also sound included.
That is included. Should.
Try again, and otherwise I just have to do it without the sound, but I can hear you as well. Easier for me to read you if I have the sound. So I can tell you there's a lot of concern in the trees of the highlands because they feel the water level is dropping drastically since the new skyscrapers, the farm scrapers are built, and there's a lot of drought here in the highlands, and the people of the communities are also concerned, but it's especially the trees who've been communicated with us for years, and they say in all their years, because they're standing here already for 500 years, the water level never has been this low. And if the water level keeps dropping, that means the trees are dying. And if the trees die, then there's going to be a lot of erosion on the highlands, and all the mud will be sliding down into New Canterbury. So I think we're very concerned about this, and I would like to make a point of this on behalf of the trees and the land around New Canterbury and the people who are living here, and also providing partly for your food. It's not only the farm scrapers who do that. As we can see on the map, people are also rather concerned, and the mood of the city is really dropping because of this case. I'd like to give back my. Yeah, I think, is there anything more you want to tell about this, Justin? Or maybe we'll go back. Yeah, you're right. It's really, really a big problem. We should not take this too lightly, because it's not just the problem of the water, but it's in the end also the problem of the whole nature around New Goldsby. And it could really be a danger for the city, even if you're not concerned about the water, because with the mudslides, it could devastate. It could be devastating, the effect for the city. Thank you so far, Justin. Maybe we'll come back to you later.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. So it seems that the issue before us is fairly clear. the water use of the farm scrapers has negative effects for the surrounding nature. And I want to give the word to one of the farmers working in the farm scrapers to perhaps hear a perspective from her.
Thank you very much for my opportunity to speak. I'm actually not a farm worker at all. I'm a research scientist.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's okay. So I'm a research scientist. I work in the farm scraper, and which produces most of the food for New Canterbury, as you've already said. Over 1 million people we produce food for. And obviously water is a necessity for growing food, and this is the really exciting part of our research actually, is that we're now only a few months away from extracting the salt from seawater, and in the future we'll be exclusively using seawater in our food production, which will take all of the pressure off of some of our micro communities. That said, I'd like to just reassure our citizens who live outside the city limits, including the nomads and micro community dwellers, that most of the water and drought that they currently experience is only temporary, and the situation will be resolved pretty soon. The other thing I wanted to address was that I know that there are some people who are skeptical about the science being used in our food production and see it as a non-natural food. But I have to tell you that we're in the same way that we now have incredible science going on around communication with plants and trees in those micro communities. We're also doing very similar research, understanding at a molecular level how plants communicate and how their health is, and we are directly using that research in order to grow our plants. And we've actually found that what we do is with the plants, we can collect this data, this sound data from the plants, and then when we start with a new species or when we want to encourage the growth of something that hasn't been very successful in the past, we play them this music and they thrive. And the most amazing thing about it is not only they thrive, but only after a very short amount of time they seem to be learning this data, and then when we remove it they continue. And they've developed, and the language is becoming more and more sophisticated. And we see now that they're able to support each other's growth without our intervention, which I think is really exciting step forward for our technology. So as a solution to try to help our citizens that live outside of our main area, our main city of New Canterbury, which is really our nomads and our micro communities, what we propose is we would like to provide food for them for a limited amount of time, probably around 3 months, and that will enable them to focus their attention on how to prepare when we do experience floods, because we will continue, unfortunately, to experience floods and droughts, so that they can focus rather than being told how to deal with it, that they can focus on developing their own solutions to things like droughts and floods, but that we take the pressure off of them by providing them with some food. I did just want to really quickly just show you something that this is where this data comes from, how we collect the data from the plant source, and it comes from very old technology that was actually dates back way back to 1976. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you how the process of photosynthesis happens, and then this raw data that is produced by that process. So bear with me, and I'm going to share my screen and show you what that looks like. Okay, sorry, I've got to find it. Yeek! Okay, here we go. I'll try and put it on bit bigger. Okay, be aware that it's quite disturbing sounds that you might hear, but this is the raw data. This data has subsequently been turned into a kind of music, but here we go. So all of the work that we've been doing up until this point has been based on some of that, using that data to communicate with the plants that we're currently cultivating. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your contribution. That was very interesting. Before I give the word to some of the audience, which I see have some reactions, I want to ask one question myself, and that is, you said that seawater could be used in the near future. Is there an estimate or a guess on how long it will take before we can fully transition to the use of seawater for farm scrapers?
We're already using some seawater. The extraction process is already underway, but there are some refinements to that technology that we need to work on. But we're predicting a 3 to 6 month period where we will go fully to using seawater.
Okay, thank you. Then I want to give the word back to Leslie, because I see that he has a reaction.
Yes, I just had a little chat with Justin, and Justin is very concerned about using seawater because of the microplastics. He reads from the trees but live quite near the sea and have the parts of their roots in the sea that they are easily polluted, and they have really problems with digesting all the microplastics in the seawater. So I would be interested what would be Tina's answer to that.
Thank you.
You want me to come back in and answer that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So, well, obviously, the extraction process to take the salt out of the water is our first concern, but there's a filtration system as well that's under development alongside that does filter out all the microplastics. And as you know, that has become a worldwide issue because of the pollution that happened during the 20th and 21st centuries.
Okay. If you would still stay, I believe we have one other reaction from the audience. Luke, if you would speak up.
Well, yes, I'm one of the farmers in the micro communities, and it hasn't been my turn yet.
And now is your time to speak. Please.
Okay. Well, Chairman, thanks for taking the word and introducing this as a minor problem, which is a typical inner city mentality. And the thing is, I'm just trying to farm my crops, but because of the drought, I just cannot, because these big corporate companies just need their veggies sold. Like, the land is so dry here, there's even a fire over there. And I don't want this synthetic fake vegetables that we get from your fancy farm scrapers. So I just want my land back and my crops. What are we going to do about that?
I assure you, as a chairman, I do not take this lightly.
Thank you.
I try to refrain from giving my opinion and take in all the information. I believe we also have another concerned citizen from a different micro community that gave their information. However, they couldn't be here today, so they sent in a video. So I'd ask if we could also play that.
Okay.
We are simply trying to get all the information before we start discussing this issue. I assure you, we take this very seriously.
Me too.
Hi here. Thank you for having me. Sorry about the call quality. It's hard to get a good reception up here in the house, but luckily my avatar is holding strong. To get to the point, I'd like to hear to consider how difficult it is for our own micro community to get consistent access to water without it being so constantly misappropriated by the city's oh-so mighty farming establishment. Those who deem it so morally sound to siphon off the groundwater that we can rely on for our own crops or their own mass-produced agricultural needs, from land that we ourselves care for, to avoid such environmental extremes. It is not our fault that the landslide had a huge regret, as we ourselves practice true sustainability and our connection with Mother Nature. It is important that the hearing know that we do not take more than we can get from our land, or else we doom ourselves to repeat the mistakes of our past. Thank you for listening.
I actually know.
Even though the citizen couldn't be here, I still want to thank them for their contribution. I believe everyone with a significant stake that has asked to speak toward this issue has given their say. And it seems a very difficult issue. The farm scrapers, on one hand, use a lot of water, but they're efficient and they give a lot of food. And currently, some of the scientists are working to avert some of these issues. But we are stuck because there is little we can do right now. There has been an offer to Leslie and Luke, and I want to hear your opinion about this offer, from the farm scrapers to provide food for all communities for the next 3 months. What do you think about this offer?
Can I
Yes,
just
go
give
ahead.
the word to Justin again, because he said something very interesting to me, but I'd like him to express it all to you. Justin, if you have, are you there?
Yes,
Justin?
hold on. Hello? I will once again attempt to grab the tree. Here we go. Let me know if you guys can hear him.
No.
Nothing?
No. I'm afraid not, but I have your voice here. Not sure. If you stop, I can share my screen.
Yes, go right
and
ahead.
then we can hear your voice. Okay. I hope you.
Leslie, could you please translate that for us?
Yes, I can, but I stopped sharing my screen first. Yeah, the trees are pretty much upset because your idea of sending food to the people of the community doesn't help the nature. It still doesn't affect the groundwater level. It's just giving people food. And I think we in New Canterbury have all agreed it's not just about the people living there. It's also about nature. And this does nothing for nature.
However, our scientist from the farm scraper has pleaded that because of the food that you would have been given, there could be a focus on the restoration of some of this nature. Do you think that is at all possible in these 3 months' time?
We don't think it's going to be enough.
From the community side, Luke, if you would speak, because you said you weren't at all happy and you just want to farm. Do you have a possible solution for this issue, or at least a suggestion on what the communities would want?
Well, first of all, I think every community every unique community should vote itself, because like we're a bit of a smaller community than where Leslie comes from, and we're very much against like BMOs, like biogenetically mutated organisms. We don't want that. We just want our vegetables just from the ground where we live, and that is just broken now. And I believe the farm scrapers do have an ethical responsibility for this problem, and it cannot be solved by giving them or their products to us. It's not our community.
Okay, thank you. I see that our scientist has raised her hand. If you would speak, please.
Yeah, I don't like this argument from the farmers. I think it's quite selfish. I think that actually the research that some of these micro communities are doing that they do not share with the wider community is not on, that they should be sharing their research more widely. To call our food genetically altered is factually incorrect. It's not. It's completely 100% natural. And so I just wanted to raise those two objections. Thank you.
Leslie.
But I still haven't heard how this is going to help nature restore itself. Giving food to the communities, maybe my community would accept it, but my community is not happy with the general state of nature around it, and it needs groundwater for it, not just food.
Does your community have a perspective on what you would need or what would need to change?
Right now, we need water, healthy, good water, because otherwise we won't survive the next spring, and all our crops will go down, and some of the trees might not bottle, and they will die, and that will be it will not only affect our community, it will affect the whole city, as we already said. So if you can provide us better water, make the ground levels go up, or maybe find another way to irrigate the land up on the highlands so that the trees won't starve, that could be a solution.
Okay, we will definitely take this in consideration. I believe our architect has raised their hand. Please speak.
Yeah, hi. Me with my corporation could be helpful to make a pipe system with the same filtration we are using and have built for the farm scrapers, and that irrigation system could lead to the micro communities. I think that could help the case.
Please, Leslie and Luke, what would your opinions be on this solution?
And that would save my fields.
So you'd be happy with a solution like that?
Well, yeah, if that is the case, yes. If my fields just don't get this dry again.
Leslie, what about you?
Yeah, if we can start it within a week, because then the frost will come down, and I really need our water supplies. And let's keep talking about it, because it's important for all of us that this is going to bring a good solution for everybody.
Architect, since the need for water is so high that they want it in 1 week, I suppose laying out this entire filtration system would take more time. How quickly do you think you can get this done?
I think we can get started in 2 weeks, because we don't have the financial stability yet to already start with building it. So either we can go and start a fundraiser and we can start earlier, or we'll have to wait 1 or 2 weeks before we start it. And once we start it, it will probably take another 2 weeks before we have finished it. So that's kind of an issue for now.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes.
wondering, there are more people here in the audience, if they maybe have a say on it.
If anyone of the audience, whether it be from a micro community, a farm scraper, or simply a concerned citizen, has any input, please, now is your time to speak up. I believe there's no one. And this is a very complicated issue. I feel we do not have an immediate solution. To have the water there within a week seems financially impossible without your help. But I fear that asking for the micro community's help to fund this issue
Mr. Chairman, may I
Sure.
interrupt you? As you know, New Canterbury is just not all about money, but also people giving an effort. So maybe we could try to help make people aware of this problem and ask them to not just give money, but help us get the water there in time.
Architect, do you think that with the micro community's help, whether it not be financial, but maybe in manpower, that we could get this done quicker?
It could definitely benefit the course of the building process, but we'll need some heavy equipment because in the mountains, as said before, it's pretty slippery and it's not safe to work around there at the moment for the regular foot folk. So
Okay, thank you. I believe our scientist has something to add.
Yeah, I think that it might be possible for us to immediately use slightly less water, which would make much more water available for our outlying communities if we could get the infrastructure in place in time.
How long could you use less water for?
But I think if we use less of the rainwater currently, it just means that it will take a little bit longer before we can switch over completely to our filtrated seawater system. So just it will probably, rather than it being a 3-month process, it might turn into a 6-month process. But don't forget, during that time, we're mitigating our outlying communities and helping to underpin what they're trying to do as well. So as they rightly pointed out, it isn't money driven or corporate driven. You know, our responsibility is in feeding our citizens as a first imperative. So I think that we can all give a little bit.
So Leslie and Luke, as current representations of the micro communities, I suggest that at a later time we have another discussion about this, and that we proceed with the current solution where the farm scrapers will reduce their use of rainwater, and we will try within a reasonable amount of time. So we might not make a week, but the reduction of rainwater use from the farm scrapers could give you more than a week. And within this time, we will try to lay pipes from the same filtration system that the farm scrapers use from seawater to your communities. And in a month's time, we will reconvene, discuss, and try to see if there's still issues and solve them then. Would that be something that you're both happy with?
Give me some time, because I have just translated this whole story to Justin, and maybe we could hear Justin's voice on it for a last time before I speak for him, because he has his own voice.
Okay.
Justin, what do you think of this idea? Justin?
Well, for me, it would be adequate. But until the time, I would like to import vegetables from a more northern micro-community where the lands are still good and where I could get, the vegetables that I want.
So instead of getting food supply from the farm scrapers, which were offered earlier, you'd prefer to get them somewhere else. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Would you need any financial support in importing these crops or food?
Yes, I would.
How many as a representative of your community, how many mouths do you have to feed and how much would this approximately cost?
Oh, we're only 50 people big, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. And we tend to learned how to very efficiently work with our resources. So we don't need much, but I have to make a calculation on that.
Okay. If you would, I think it's important that we do start the steps now to make sure that the trees or the surrounding nature and the micro communities doesn't get affected too much. So I'll try to speak with the scientists surrounding the farm scrapers to reduce their rainwater use and start with the architect to lay the foundation of the filtration water to all communities. But I feel like to solve immediate food issues, we might need to talk with more micro communities. So I suggest that besides these problems, we might reconvene next week with more representations from different communities.
I just talked to Justin and he said for now it's okay, but he's going to talk to a little bit more trees in the surroundings just to help you to get a mapping of what's really going on and collect the data of the drought, because as you know, trees are very good in collecting data.
Okay, but would this current solution be sufficient for you?
For now it is.
Okay, then I suggest we close the current case. We will reconvene next week and the solution will be implemented as stated earlier. Thank you all for coming and thank you for speaking up.
Thank you for...
I wish everyone a very good day. Hopefully we'll get this issue sorted permanently in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I believe we go to the third and last case presented by Chairwoman Nina.
No, we don't have a last case.
Oh, then that's all.
We only had 2 cases.
My bad. Well, thank you all for joining this roleplay session, and I hope you had a great time, either from the audience or from your role. And we would like to hear about, what you guys all think of it. And I'm sending a link with a little survey, but you can also open your microphone and have a little and talk with us about what you experienced.
Is there anyone who wants to comment on what they just experienced? Sarah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks a lot for doing this. I think it was really enjoyable to have this story presented like this, and I think I kind of saw the people living there. I could sort of see how they would live there. And definitely sometimes of course the real world also came in. So sometimes of course I was reminded of the students by for example their profile pic for Justin, for example. But overall, yeah, I think it was really enjoyable, and I liked the format of this in the future, how people also how people discuss future issues and how that would be. But for me as an audience, it was sometimes so I felt a bit. I wanted to participate, but I wasn't sure what my role was. So, like, was I a concerned citizen? But then, what was my concern exactly? So, maybe to give the audience a more specific role would help. I'm thinking about that also myself. Like, how would I be more invited to speak up, for example? Because I, of course, I wasn't sure what my investment was. Maybe that's for me interesting when you talk about immersive storytelling. Like, what's in it for me as audience, besides that it's really an interesting story to, of course, imagine, but as a participant, that's maybe a different thing. So yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. It would be interesting.
Yeah, we have thought about it, but we originally wanted to do this all live, and if we could do it live, we could have maybe invited you in person and tell you you are this citizen and you have this specific role. This is your interest, but it was a bit complicated how to do that all online also.
Understandable. Yeah, no, but it is also interesting to see for me, like, how does that work as an audience? I mean, also to feel when do you want to speak up, or when is it also like also how, I guess also for students, how the threshold is to speak up online is quite high, I feel. So yeah, it's interesting to feel that anyway, but thanks.
Bertje.
Oh, yes. Well, I would like to thank you all for this experience, because I experienced it also face to face, and it's really different. And that's why at the beginning I was like puzzled, is this a hearing or is it something else? Is it kind of different type of presenting the joint thing, but then separately? And the combination of the two approaches I really liked, and also your effort to do it online. It's because that's really difficult. So I am one of the lucky ones that experienced and face to face and online, and I must say that I was surprised by online version. I was a bit puzzled at the beginning, but at the end I was, oh, okay, this is interesting. So I'm very interested in the follow up, and I hope there is going to be a follow up. So to see what effect does it have on the further actions you're going to take in the courses. So that would be my first reaction. Again, thank you.
Stina, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of take up Sarah's point a little bit around audience participation, and we did talk about having the audience, or the people that are not directly, you become by default our audience, to have them be like the role of the jury maybe, or you make the decision rather than, but so that is something definitely that I think we'll develop. And also, just so you know, that like part of the idea of today was to see what is completely mad idea, to see what happens as well, and what things come out of today that we might want to take forward and develop some of the ideas, because all of this stuff comes from these brilliantly written stories from Nina, really, and how we've, she's been so encouraging about getting us to get involved in writing our own kind of versions of this stuff. So it's been tremendous fun so far, and I'm hoping that we're going to continue. And the next iteration that we have of the tribunal, and I like the idea of the tribunal being a kind of a good way of people being able to present their different bits of research too, actually. So I think that is definitely something that we'll take forward, whether we're in Cambridge or in Breda or somewhere else.
Someone else wants to say something? Maybe Maaike, this is your first real introduction to this case?
Yes, it's very noisy here with the kids, so it was really hard for me to speak up because of that. Yeah, but I also had a problem with my role, and sometimes I thought maybe when there was I don't know, a bit more introduction, so that I could really feel like someone who was living in 2070 before the whole hearing.
Yeah,
Maybe a kind of introduction, or I don't know, maybe that helps. And I also think it's because you all, I wasn't really aware about everyone's role, so I thought, who am I sitting here with? I was puzzling, and I don't know the idea behind it. I think I can imagine the idea is that you put together a group of people with all kinds of expertises. And I think that's interesting to work out a bit more. What kind of scientists are there? What kind of creative thinking people are there in the year 2070? Yeah, that's my first reaction, I guess.
Thank you.
But thank you very much. It was really nice to be a part of this.
It was only the first prototype. I think that's also important too. So it's really a learning process for us. Thanks. All the feedback is very welcome. I see, Matej, you want to react also, Matej?
Yes, yeah, me too. Thank you very much. It was also really nice to just look at it and listen to it and try to make sense of it, what's going on. I think this is also exciting if you're not really participating, just really enjoying it. I have a question. How conscious was this selection of characters? Maybe it's also, I'm continuing the question before, that you were playing different kind of characters. Was this very well developed already, or do you use some kind of a scheme for characters?
No, it's just winging it, to be quite honest. It's we have of course these stories I've written a lot of time ago, and we put a lot of effort in the world building, and then we thought of those two cases, and we just said who wants to take a role, and we need some roles like this, and who wants to do what, and there was not. To be quite honest, there was not a lot of preparation for the roles. We think we all decided who was going to be who a week ago, and we said everybody, well, try to imagine you're that person living in that city, and the most important thing is that you know what your what's at stake for you, and where are you living in the city, and what's at stake at the moment, and that's what you have to improvise on. So it's not a theater, and we didn't rehearse it. We only said, well, this is the roles we have, and we just going to play and see what happens. So we didn't know the outcomes either, which is part of the role play process. Maybe Dries can tell us.
Yes, that was part of this type of role playing called, live action role playing, but now in this way through teams, which is improvisational theater. For our research, or for my research, I wanted to test how that worked in a manner with all kinds of expert students, people that are involved and people that aren't involved with the world building process together, to see if it works and if it could be used in the design process. But I have those questions all listed in a survey that I linked in the chat. So if you could please fill that out for us, that would be really helpful. And in that way, you can explain maybe a bit more about what you experienced, how this could be used, what could be improved, and what did you miss, and how the role playing in general was actually.
Any more questions or remarks from the audience? Well, I would like to thank you all for being here, because it was very helpful for us. And to do this for real public, of course, is working much better, and your feedback is very important for us. And for the people who would like to learn a little bit more about the world we're we're playing in. We're working on it on several boards, to be honest. There's a Miro we have, and we put all our stuff in, and we work in Discord, and we work in Teams, and we have this one thing we're building still at the moment, which is called World Anvil. And all the stories are already there, and you see in my background at the moment, you see the map of New Canterbury, which is based on an existing city in Scotland called Golspie at the moment. And if you go to the World Anvil, you can see the map, and on the maps there are pins and there are booklets, and if you click on a booklet, you can read the stories I've been writing so far. And for the people who don't know much more about this project, all the stories that have been written are written based on interviews I did with lectoren from Avans Hogeschool. So that's the background of the stories, and of course there's also a lot of things that slip in from things I've read before, things I'm interested in. I was already interested in the way trees communicated before I did this interview and wrote this story. So yeah, that's how storytelling works.
Just to quickly say as well that you forgot to mention Minecraft, and
Minecraft, yeah.
It is a huge endeavour. I'm so impressed with everyone that's been working on the creation of New Canterbury. It's every time I see it, it's just an amazing new things that they've built. So it's been a brilliant collaborative tool, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people have been working together on this Minecraft representation of New Canterbury also. So and for us it is also a good experiment. How does it work even if you work with another university in another country with the possibility of traveling to that place? And I really think, well, this far I'm really happy that there are a lot of people also from Cambridge here at the moment, and we really pulled it off as something we did together. And I would really like to thank you, Tina, and your students for participating in this.
It's fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. Another question is, I'm asking of the people of Minecraft, as you mentioned, do you want to put a link to the Minecraft in the chat also, if people want to have another look at it? Or is it not ready yet?
Maybe we can share the tour of the world, and whenever it's finished, we can make another video of it.
That's good. So I think we're coming to the end of this meeting, and I would really thank you all for being here. If you have any things you want to share with us later, please fill in the form first, but also you have my email address, so you know how to find me on Teams. So if you have anything you want to discuss with me, don't be shy, just get into contact and tell me. Thanks for being here, all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
All right.
So I think that went, yeah, greater than expected. Since it was mostly, improv.
All improv.
Ja.
Wat zeg je?
Ja, ik zei, Adinda, ben je hier nog?
Yes, but I'm leaving now. Hi.
Bye.
This was kind of the...
Oh.
So how's your overall feeling?
It was great doing a prototype for real for once.
It was absolutely brilliant to have an audience. Absolutely brilliant. It made me take it way more seriously. Like Also, I ended up being like the corporate face of New Canterbury, which is incredibly uncomfortable.
You didn't want to be that, did you?
I was just a conservative
kind of scientist person. No.
I was just a conservative farmer. Don't take it personally.
Yeah, you were not really cooperative, Luke.
Yeah. You had real cool glasses.
Thank you. Well, those people exist too, you know. They also have an opinion.
Sure.
I thought that guy was American because of the Texan accent. You?
Yeah, brother.
I absolutely do think though that if we, you know, whoever wants to continue working on this project in whatever way, that if we are able to get an exhibition together, I really think that it has to be really performative, and a hybrid of theatre and exhibition or something, or just even theatre. CJ, are you all right?
Hi, I'm currently I'm kind of in boxes at the moment. My PC's kind of like in parts, but like I tried to catch as much as I could. I'm kind of jury rigging a microphone together a bit to try and get myself working. But you know, there was certainly went well. From what I could see. I hope my scuffed editing worked for my video. I tried to make it sound like I was coming through a phone and I was actually in the hills. If you can deal with my squeaky accent, that came through a bit stronger because of the audio. I'm not sure, but I had one comment that's going to write it out. But the for a narrative in terms of like I guess I was very accusatory in mine in my video. That would it make sense if to have one of the micro community farmers speak first and then go to city farmer to then argue back against their points, to then go to another city farmer to then argue back against the city's points? Because personally, I felt, Tina, you're covering a lot of the questions that would have been answered by the micro community. So I was like a bit front-ended, but let's just go with it. Improv. No one has a script. Yeah, it certainly it went well. Interesting how we managed to put it together on the computers. Yeah.
Also, with the technology really didn't fail us. It really, I mean, overall, there were little glitches here and there, but actually, technologically speaking, and I've seen this crash and burn teams.
I accidentally disconnected my hard drive from my laptop that had the program on it, so I disappeared. So I'm glad you didn't see it. My avatar did like break for a moment. I was scrambling, and they tripped over my dog to try and get it back. They pulled the wrong plug out. Yeah, it seems like it would go well if it was done in person as well, to be able to bring things together and be able to like point, like just single people out in the audience to try and get them in.
We actually had a theatre company came during lockdown. Actually, came and they gave a kind of a talk workshop thing with some of our drama students, and I was invited to go along to it. And it was all about performing on Zoom or Teams, whatever it is. And I'll try and dig out some of the notes I took about it, because there were some things that well, one of the things they said is you must rehearse. Yeah, hello. And second, which we did yesterday, to be fair, at least we went for a kind of technical rehearsal. But there's also the thing about at the beginning when people are joining, that can feel really awkward, and I'm really annoyed at myself that I didn't remember that, because you can just play music quite loudly, something quite uppy. You know, like like
to get people in the mood, and it's something to do when you're in a room, but it's online. It's always a little bit awkward.
Yeah, it always is. But when we went to this workshop thing with them, they played really loud dance music.
Yeah,
and it was really good, actually. You just kind of feel, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. Kind of, sorry about my dancing.
One of the other things I thought, which was a really good comment of Sarah, and I had thought about it. It would be nice before people join if we could give them a short inquiry with some questions, and then that defines their role.
That's a good idea. Really good idea. Okay. You need to stop recording this now. Do you don't want to
Yes,
record
of course.
conversation? Yeah.
Recording is now. I had already forgotten we were still recording.
Have you still got the camera on your studio?